Our hero, Goblin Face, was born in a miscarriage to Skyrim with 1 HP. Everything about his origins was terrible, and yet, against all odds, he persevered, eventually toppling the Flying Eldritch Doomsday Noodle without lifting a finger. Now, feeling pretty full of himself, he set his sights on Dark Brotherhood. Yo dudes and dudettes, this is Ketchu, here to test the theory. Can you beat Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood without taking or doing any damage? We resume our journey, fresh off defeating the World Chomper. Some unorthodox science took place at the orphanage, where the Constable Lady unraveled some emotions, mostly homicide, on the old hag. The kids were thrilled, truly a hands-on learning experience. After that, I reported to Alvin the Chipmunk, who was mid-worshipping a corpse. No red flags here. Taking credit for a kill I didn't commit was easy. Even got paid for it. Love a good victimless crime. Then I stole his snacks. Playing with the bones was a bad idea. Alvin was stunned to witness my brittle existence fall to pieces. That fateful night, Alvin lost more than he bargained for. I pilfered all his food and shoes. I traveled across Skyrim 3 times, before stopping to finally sleep in Riverwood among my people, where I'd be safe in the loving arms of my kin. That didn't happen. I woke up in a murder shack. Okay, after what I put them through, they earned this. Astrid from the Dark Brotherhood tasked me with eliminating 3 tied-up folks. Little did she know, I don't do my own dirty work, and that includes laundry. This was also the first time I'd seen her do anything herself. I respect her ability to execute bound and defenseless prisoners. Real high bar for entry there. Then I got struck flaccid by the baskets behind the bed. After getting my pat on the back, I looted all the head sacks and shoes from the display victims. 3 souvenirs. Then I made my way to Falkreath, where the guards were obsessed with asking if I'd seen a dog. If I ever did, I was keeping that information to myself out of spite. Inside the Dark Brotherhood sanctuary, I applied my time-honored strategy of, if it isn't nailed down, it's mine. Finally upgraded from foot wraps to proper shoes, and Astrid gave me more garbage to pawn off. I introduced myself to the gang. They quickly learned what I was about. For professional killers, they sure sucked at the whole killing business. Nobody died. Before heading out, I stole from the local library and got my first contracts from Nazir. In Dawnstar, the courier locked onto me like a misguided missile. He had something he was supposed to deliver, my hands only. He then told me he was instructed to hand these to everyone. So which is it, idiot?
This makes me so mad.
My first target went down fast. A guard handled it for me. That was easy. Maybe this won't be so bad. On my way to the next target, dragons started chasing me. A plan sparked to life inside my head. I'd use them to complete the contract. First, I tried feeding the quest marker person to the dirt crustaceans. The apex predators of my nightmares refused to land the killing blow. Where's this mercy when I get pinched? The dragons were just as useless. No matter what I did, they refused to help this guy star in his own obituary. What a spectacle. I even tried stealing from him and talking to him to make the universe realize he was there. I was there. Please, where's the murder? Of course, my summoned help lacked work ethic too, and I'm about as good an assassin as I am a motivational speaker. 20 minutes. I spent 20 minutes watching my grand assassination scheme fail magnificently. And worst of all, during this kerfuffle, a rogue mudcrab nearly grab-hammered my one and only hit point into oblivion. Fine. Enorius Papius, you get to leave, for now. Silver lining? The village now looked like the finale of a demolition derby gone wrong. For the next pleasant surprise, I'd never visited Ivarstead before, so I reverse engineered my way down from High Rodka. It was less interesting than a quick-time boss event. My target, the beggar, was far enough away removed from society that Frenzy didn't do jack, so I feared him into the guards. They executed him on my behalf, and I paid 20 gold in fines for my transgressions. For community service, I left the community, though I did slip back for the shoes. He didn't have any.
What a sad day.
Enorius Papius versus Goblin Face. Round 2. Fight.
Man, I don't know how to. Oh wow, that counts, right?
Back at Sanctuary, Cicero had arrived, adding to the overall clown energy. Meanwhile, the gang had built up a resistance to my shenanigans. like antibodies, but for disappointment. Luckily mayhem still worked like a charm. Astrid worded a fresh assignment on me. I needed to talk to Moiri in Markat for the details. And since it's Markat, I had an obligation to keep its rich history of unhinged violence alive. Once Moiri recovered from the pain of meeting me, she laid out the details. Banish her ex to the Shadow Realm? Wow, petty. And then some random lady in Windhelm. I could have asked for more details, but why would I do that? I don't get paid for listening. On my way to whatever this week's flavor of ruins is, I encountered a floating carriage.
Yeah, I know, dude. Pretty crazy, huh?
Then, I ran into 2 trolls on a hunting trip, so naturally, I had them work through their bad blood the old-fashioned way. Mutually attempted murder. A 3rd troll was lurking nearby, and Nordius proved his worth yet again. I can tell the bandits near my goal had never held a tournament of power before. They were so eager to set the record straight as soon as I planted that idea in their minds. As I entered inside the rubble, my zombies honored tradition by instantly dropping dead. This annoyed me. A single neuron flickered inside my skull. After my usual entrance routine, havoc, property damage, minor war crimes, I realized my enemies were starting to build up tolerance too. My foolproof strategy of outsourcing all the violence was becoming slightly fool resistant. The brainwave intensified, like tossing metal in a microwave. I needed to master the conjuration. My target, Mr. Dufont, was effortlessly curb-stomped by his own underling. I thought bandits sorted themselves by strength, but I guess we are dealing with a progressive crowd here.
That was easy.
Next up, Windhelm. Nilsin's Shadowshield was brutally sent to meet her ancestors by her own kin, and I made sure to stage it in a graveyard, saving the Undertaker a commute. It's called Consideration. Look it up. I just learned about it myself. Back at Markat, the city of spite, I reported back to Moiri and got paid 1000 gold and a ring as a sign of affection. What is this? A romance arc? Gross. Astrid insisted I talk to her butt as she passed some words. Following my next set of completely reasonable instructions, I got blackout drunk and hid inside the Night Mother's coffin. Disgusting? Yes. Snuggly? Also yes. Cicero's unhinged death talk was interrupted when the corpse lit up like a demented Christmas tree and started talking. She called me her listener. Wait, so now I do get paid for listening. I hate it.
Defiler! Debaser and defiler!
Man, Cicero's not too happy with me messing with this real doll.
Mother ordered me to talk to some guy somewhere. Didn't catch the details. On my way out, Astrid stopped me for a heart-to-heart, explaining how she totally still outranks an ancient corpse deity. Sure, babe. Following my next fresh set of orders, I endured the Nazir punishment, got my new contracts, and made sure to set the mood before leaving. Next, I stopped by the college to master conjuration. Step 1. Summon an unbound Tremora. Step 2. Have my boy slap him into submission. Step 3. Repeat.
I could do this all day.
No! I submit! No more!
After breaking him down emotionally and physically 3 times, he agreed to fetch me one of Dagon's balls. I handed it off to Pastor Nerd and unlocked the best conjuration spells. Next target, Lurbook. I'd never set foot in Mortal before. Somehow, I always default to Whiterun's tables for my traveling needs. Apparently, other options exist. Mortal will forever remember the day I crashed its party. 2 unlucky smugs didn't survive the festivities, but I made sure to snag their shoes. So, who landed poor little Lurbook on my hit list? The banter between him and the owner hinted it could have been anyone. Apparently, nobody fancies him, yet he's too dense to catch on. Wow, I could easily be in his shoes. I rue the day I finally developed self-awareness.
I'm in the mood to sing. What about you, friend? Care to join me?
Yeah, okay, I see it now. I waited over a day, hoping he'd burst into his signature performance, but nothing happened. I'm guessing it was because the other 2 potential bar patrons were flaccid out in the cold. He needs an audience. So, I gave Alva and John a little nudge, and they were more than happy to unload their opinions on our resident supermutant bard. The aftermath of their tantrum said it all. Naturally, I didn't leave the tavern without treating myself to some grub and grog in celebration. On my way to the next contract, a ruin distracted me. Outside of it, 2 dead bandits laying around like unwelcome mats. I turned them into my trolls, one by one, and had them duke it out with a particularly sticky lady. Neither could best her, but honestly, sometimes being just a mild headache for everyone is all I need. At Halfwit Mill, my next target, Herb, and his sidekick awaited. My first attempt to surprise them in their own home went a little sideways. Herb emerged victorious from their first frenzied tango. I kept resurrecting his partner, Herbalina, and after 3 rematches, she finally came out on top. That's when one solitary brain cell finally lit up. I should create decent weapons for my minions. Clearly, having Herbalina try to take out Herb with an iron dagger wasn't cutting it. Pros, I now had 2 bona fide vampire trolls. Cons, I forgot to swipe Herb's shoes, but given his weak credentials, I'm sure I'll get them eventually. I looted all the food and valuables from their house while they could do nothing but watch about it. On my way to report to Nazir, Astrid had more feelings to unload. After a long hard think, she reached a conclusion and agreed that listening to our scary deity might be a good idea. I also swiped 2 massive weapons from the furry forge and enchanted them for my new, slightly more brain-dead crew. Nazir gave me my cut for my stellar work, but didn't have any more contracts lined up. Freaking slacker, that one.
Oh boy, I'm ready for my next adventure.
On my way to track down the next quest marker, I decided to make a pit stop at Silent Moon's camp to bully some bandits. Only hitch? My undead crew totally ghosted me. Like they read the script and bailed mid-scene. I hung around like a desperate B-movie extra clinging to his final line. But their resurrection was a total no-show. Seriously, even the plot twist was a coffee break. Companions aren't allowed inside the den of dogs. Plot twist, I know. I tried crashing in and out to eliminate a suspect, but my so-called companions were still lurking around like unpaid background actors. After wrapping up that Herb gang quest with Nazir, they pulled that howdy nonsense again. Culprit found. I had a brilliant theory that if I armed those freeloaders with enchanted weapons, they'd finally stick around like loyal subscribers. And to them, I sent my thank yous. Only problem, I enchanted the weapons after talking to Nazir. Easily amended, right? Instead of redoing the work for a 3rd time, I jetted off to Valkyrie to buy that gear. The locals rolled out the customary carpet of dog-related questions. Even the resident Smith wouldn't shut up about it. Seriously, they should build a statue for that mutt if they're so obsessed. Eventually, he agreed to do business with me as I gave to look for the beast. And in a rare moment of courtesy, even tossed me a snack. I ended up snacking 2 enchanted weapons for my dysfunctional groupies before I ignored the whole dark business. Then I swung by the Silent Moon's camp, again, to get help shutting down my trolls, so I could hand them their long overdue hurting sticks. After turning in the quest to Nazir, I stepped outside the den only to find my chumps had cancelled on me. Darn it, so disappointing. Those enchanted weapons weren't exactly chump chains. Back at Silent Moon's camp, I resolved to flip that place upside down in order to vent my inner torment. I'd given up on making Herb's and Herbalina's afterlife a proper unliving hell. But lo and behold, they showed up. My machinations had worked. I'd dance if I wasn't afraid of dying from sudden movements.
Oh yes.
Then I spent an ungodly amount of time on one particularly pesky marauder. My trolls, as dependable as dial-up on a windy day, would occasionally bolt when they got too banged up. While they kept the big bad busy, I snuck in to swipe all the goodies. This whole charade took ages, mostly because I was busy maxing out my minions' future torments, effectively self-sabotaging my grand plan, like a villain of the week from a superhero show, who can't stop shooting himself in the foot. After a 10-minute clown show, my useless butt bandits emerged victorious. Finally, we inserted ourselves inside the ruins.
Here for work? Get an axe and bring me all the wood you can chop.
Oh sure, let me just pencil that in between not dying and also not dying.
Another marauder, this time a swift 9-minute massacre.
I'm seriously considering ditching the Herb gang. They're giving my brain more whiplash than they're worth.
I had my morons duke it out with a cave bear, and shockingly, they actually thumped it into oblivion. I've been grinding my alteration skills on the side. Paralyzing people seems like something I'd enjoy. Don't worry though, I'm serious. At Volundrud, a deadly trap right at the door. Almost clocked out then and there. How devious. Even Herb took a beating, disabling it with his body. You could practically see the brain damage in HD. My snobby contact, with all the subtlety of a used car salesman, wanted my black company to take out the Emperor. His goon handed me an amulet and a letter. Neither tasted very good. But hey, at least he came through with some snacks. Not satisfied with the amulet, I snagged a pair of shoes from a nearby chest, which is what I really wanted. Astrid couldn't believe her ears when I placed the letter between her gastric gateways, but after chewing on that stale piece of toast, she sent me on an errand that could have been done by literally anyone else.
You know, I totally forgot I've been here before.
Delvin the sewer rat appraised and bought the disappointing amulet, another man's trash and yada yada.
I suppose I can work with your face. After all, the sculptor cannot always choose the finest clay.
Listen, ma'am, you can call me whatever you like, but let's get one thing straight. Nobody freaks with the face.
Frankly, I probably wouldn't make it past anesthesia anyway. Back to Astrid for my next contract. Vittoria Vici needs to be unsubscribed from life. Right at her own wedding. Bonus points if it happens when she's addressing the guests. Her own upcoming husband took her out. Bonus squared. Earned. After that, the guests erupted into a sweaty frenzy. Chef's kiss. And because I might need to feel pretty later, I looted every scrap of the bride's clothing off her decorated booty. Then Vizara showed up as backup, promising to hold the fort while I made my heroic escape. Instead, I just watched him soak in the atmosphere, maybe mingle with the other guests. Nice try, buddy, but don't think you can hog all the food. I swiped all the cutlery, pocket snacks, and boots before making my exit.
I just came to sing. This is a horror show.
You're welcome.
They should have hired Löbach.
I'm in the mood to sing.
Oh yeah, they can't. He's too busy warming up in the fire bath. Honestly, if anyone could ignore everyone else's drama and just keep on belting, it'd be him. He's a true rock star, just a misunderstood one. Even Astrid was amused by what I had done this time. To get the details for my next gig, I had to chat with Gabriel. The Emperor's coming to Skyrim. His security is handled by Commander Morrow. My job? Tuck Morrow's son in for an extended dirt nap and plant a letter on his body framing him for plotting against the Emperor. There's a bonus if I do it in one of the major cities. Lucky for me, Solitude's first on the itinerary. Unlucky was Solitude. First the wedding, now this. The place is just speedrunning tragic headlines. Now, some of these targets just refuse to take that permanent vacation unless you sneeze at them. Have we failed the challenge? Nah, it's just Skyrim being Skyrim, changing rules on the fly. We're up to at least 2 guys now who need a little extra help on their relocation trip to the hereafter. Once Morrow Jr. did his best impression of a speed bump, I planted the letter on him. And, for good measure, almost every single shoe I've stolen. They finally caught him, the legendary shoe thief. Tragically, making him a troll was impossible. Bethesda saw the fun potential and deleted it immediately. Side note, the Herb Gang abandoned me again, and I was officially done trying to Jedi mind trick them into staying. Since Skyrim's working overtime to ruin my fun, I'm gonna let it have this one. Back at the den, I found Vizara sitting on the ground like a kid caught shoplifting. Turns out, Cicero mopped the floor with them. These guys really suck. So now, I gotta dig through his room for clues, then track him down and hand him his express ticket to the afterlife.
You've got to deal with this situation.
Ah yes, of course, because nobody else here actually does anything. I think Vizara was just faking it to get attention, so I'm making sure everyone gets some.
Draining alteration with flesh spells in combat was about as exciting as watching the second-hand crawl in class, so I put the Dark Brotherhood on hold and moseyed over to the Mage's Guild to get Tolfdir, the alteration teacher, back to school. That idiot was still in Sarthal, staring at that giant blue ball like it was his soulmate. I guess he related to it hard. The super mutant mage wasn't exactly thrilled to see me humping my way over. Instead of complimenting my fluid technique, he barked at me to fetch some books that Osborne had filched. As I made my exit, Ancano, the piss mage, tried to grift me. Knowing what was coming, I screamed him into the wall and cackled all the way out. One-way ticket to the Pain City for that arrogant prick. Next stop, Ruins, the fate of all cities. Surprise, surprise. Inside, I got creative with a trap, but when backing up to get a good angle, a basket shattered all my bones, sending my strategy in an unexpected direction. After that, I stopped pulling punches and cranked out mayhem spells. Thanks to the ensuing commotion, I kept encountering limp mages, dying proof of my magic's brilliance. In a science room, I resurrected some test subjects in order to help them get revenge. Poetic justice served cold. Osborne tried to kill me by chatting me up mid-brawl. The guy would fit right into my brain-dead crew. So, as payback, I turned him into a troll. He suffered for the attempted homicide. And later, after getting too cozy with an Atronak, I dumped him as a distraction. That's what you get. At the end of the dungeon, I met their leader, the Call Girl. She resisted for a hot minute, but eventually joined my crew.
Welcome to the madhouse.
Back at the college, I noticed Tolfdir had returned. Naturally, I decided to keep those books for myself. Knowledge is loot. For that planned alteration practice, I picked up a Detect Life spell.
Would you mind dousing that magic?
Bah! Up yours, Isolda!
Don't hurt me!
I swung by Whiterun to snag a house, passed my mementos, and went back to college to keep grinding by my bed. I checked with Tofu to see if I could already buy the paralyze every few levels. Of course, the call girl blocked my path. I tried screaming her out of the way and accidentally summoned Lucian instead. Oops. While I was training, Cicero wouldn't stop whining about his problems.
It is difficult to admit, but Cicero still use some help.
And Lucian just wouldn't shut up. Later, he dropped the bomb. The dread Papa doesn't want Cicero to die. Who knew he'd start handing out mission hints like body favors? Later, a dragon swung by and beat up my death roll. Because I'd legendaried my conjuration and dumped points into alteration for smoother leveling, I couldn't pick up my girl. But don't worry, I'll be back. At level 68, Paralyze was finally mine. I gave Tofu a taste, yoinked his cash, and then had Pasta teach me conjuration. I paralyzed him too, and got my money back. Genius, right? Because when you paralyze someone, you can pickpocket them without repercussions once they start stirring. Near Whiterun, I swiped the guard's pocket snacks. The guy nearly fought me over it. Relatable. Then, a random chicken got a taste too. Glock, yeah! After that, I witnessed something truly epic. A headless horseman. I played Skyrim for 800 hours, but even I didn't see that coming. There was also a bizarre duo. A rat and a spider. The weird stuff you find when you walk around at night instead of fast traveling. And then, I activated the ritual stone. Before diving back to Cicero's circus, I took a pit stop to bully a god while sharpening my conjuration and alteration, probably giving his brain whiplash from creating all the tremors with his skull. After days on the road, Vittoria was still sulking on the ground, playing the hurt card. Drama Queen! While rummaging through Cicero's room for clues, I found his journal. Too bad I can't read. Astrid read it to me like a bedtime story, hammering home how time-sensitive this mission was. Then she gifted me a horse that rose from the latrine. At least that's what I've been using that bond for. With Dawnstar Sanctuary as my target, I took a detour to bully the locals a bit. Arnbjorn was warming the ground with his backside just outside the operation zone.
I think we're dealing with another drama queen. I gave all my magic to heal him, and he's still sitting down.
After that, I paralyzed him and swiped his weapon.
See, I told you he was pretending.
Inside the sanctuary, a horde of spectral guardians was waiting. I summoned Lucian to test which ghostly punk was tougher. Spoiler alert, Lucian got his buttocks handed to him. It was a blast practicing my skills, tormenting those low capacity losers. Honestly, nothing much happened. At the end of the road, I found Cicero. He begged me to stage his exit for Astrid. Done. Even though his voice drives me nuts. I kinda like the guy. Plus, it was the perfect excuse to piss in Astrid's cornflakes. I'll take that any day. Healing him worked as expected. It didn't. I paralyzed him, took his coin, and watched as he crumbled back to the ground. Fear and mayhem had him spring up on his feet. Trying fear again had him admitting to faking it.
Behold the final trick of the Fool of Hearts! You think me near death? Think again!
Dark Brotherhood? More like a misfit soccer team. Back at Dog's Nest, Asbjorn greeted me at the door, and Astrid bought my story like a discount GPU. Petus handed me the details for my next gig. Eliminate the gourmet and slip into his skin. To uncover his true identity, I headed over to Market and crashed into the Understone Keep. Inside, I found the cook, the gourmet's pal, whose lips were looser than a tavern door under a threat of violence. I had to trim the loose ends, but I wasn't completely heartless, so I made him take out the jerk who bullied him earlier. Next, I let Lucian try to prove his worth again.
Oh, nice. At least he can take out helpless civilians.
Killing the gourmet will leave an emptiness like the soul of Skyrim. This pleases me.
You're a bit of a weirdo, aren't ya?
Before bouncing, I swiped some snacks. On my way to Nightgate Inn, I had my horsey and Lucian tag team a guard for funsies. Outside the inn, I found my target, a super mutant cook, and had my horse do the heavy lifting. While stashing his body, a fugitive came barreling at me, screaming, and even handing me an axe. Naturally, I paralyzed him and let Shadowmane chew him into bits. No witnesses. Then, a hunter showed up, looking for the fugitive. Rinse and repeat. After Fetus grumbled and paid me for my good work, it was time to deal with the Emperor.
Oh, yes. And I've decided you will have the honor.
But of course, no one else here does anything.
Poor Solitude. These folks just can't catch a break. I was surprised to find one of my trolls still unalive from my last round. That lazy corpse would have wrecked my infiltration, so I roped in some backup to shut it down.
You should see me when you get bored, stranger.
Oh, don't worry, that's not happening. Just look at the bodies. Boots, boots, boots. All mine.
Alright, here's the mission in 5 simple stomps. Stomp 1. Infiltrate Castle Door of Solitude as the gourmet. Stomp 2. Pose as the cook, storm the kitchen, and steal all the food. Stomp 3. Throw in some random ingredients. Poison the Emperor's crop. Stomp 4. Serve up the deadly feast to the target. Stomp 5. Escape through the upper door and across the bridge. It's been arranged to be unguarded. I repeat. Stomp 5. Unguarded. Okay, several things went sideways. Of course, the Emperor turned out to be a body double, we got betrayed, and Sanctuary is under attack. Outside of the den, it was the usual dance with the loitering guards. Inside, I found Vittoria sprawled naked on the ground. I don't think he's faking it this time. What did they do to my boy? The adversarial assailant asshats were busy staging a full-on Mortal Kombat tournament. One of them was so sturdy, I finally had a reason to unleash my ritual power. They ganked him into ribbons in seconds. The fact that he was paralyzed probably didn't play in his favor.
Oh, hello, Gabriella.
Next up, I had to save Nazir. Instead of wiping his butt, I had him help himself by stiffening his opponent like a board for him. But for some reason, he didn't break the board.
What?
After several more attempts, it was becoming quite clear that this dude wouldn't die unless I sneezed on him. We're up to 3 guys now. Nazir thanked me, Night Mother demanded a hug, and I passed out in her coffin from the fumes. Then Mother ordered me to find Astrid. Nazir dug me out, I chatted with a ghoul, and soon I was supposed to politely evict her from the mortal realm.
Kill me.
At first I tried to wait it out, to see if that does the trick. It didn't. So I lobbed a cast of frenzy at her. The adrenaline spike was enough to send her overworked heart on a permanent vacation. This one totally doesn't count as damage, because the spell does no such thing. Success.
That's what you get, stupid.
After that, Mother set me on the familiar course. We were back on track. Mr. Snubby's Nutface was ecstatic that the mission was still on. He blurted the real Emperor's location, and the end was in sight. After dipping in the drink, I made my way over to the Emperor's boat. A few casts of mayhem later, most of the crew were ready to service me. There are some lessons I just won't learn. It was fun, cracking open some boys with the gold ones. Inside the Emperor's chamber, I wore my prettiest dress, and he was expecting me. We had a good talk, and he asked me to take out the one who put the contract on him. I agreed to think about it. Paralyzing did not stop him from breathing. I planned to drop all my stolen shoes in his cabin to frame him for the boot thievery, but I forgot what happened last time I tried dropping stuff.
Dang it!
After another cast of Paralyze, I let Lucien do the honors. After all he's been through, I think the guy deserves a little something nice, like an emperor.
I'm Lucien LaChance.
That's right! You are, aren't you? You big dumb idiot.
I stole the boots and died again. I repeated some steps, framed the Emperor as the boot-eating thief, and swiped all the food and cutlery on my way out. A guard had ambled on the boat, demanding a fine. Lucien failed valiantly defending my honor.
And the winner is... the god.
I let my contractor know the deed was done. I could have spared him, but I was already rocking my business socks. As my reward, I pocketed 20,000 gold from the dead drop. After Nazir got the good news, Mother screamed inside my head, and Cicero offered to join me just outside the sanctuary.
No!
Following Nazir's instructions, I headed to the trash flagon to burn all my money on furniture and such for the new sanctuary.
Can you move, Cicero? Do you have to do that?
The torture room I bought came with free. The torture room I bought came with. The torture room I bought came with victims included. Hinky. In the main hall, I dropped one more touch of furnishing, and I beat Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood without.
Do you mind, Cicero? You're ruining my shot.
And I beat Skyrim's Dark Brotherhood without taking or doing any damage. And that's it for this time, folks. Do the engagement things to help me out. Tell me in the comments what I could have done better, or if you have other challenges/games for me to play. I think Goblin Face is willing to tackle more content from Skyrim. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Take care now. Bye bye then.